Okay, welcome everybody who's here and anybody who's watching. I'll see where we are on Facebook and things like that. So today it's the first time back, so excuse me if we have a kind of few rusty things, but this is the first one we've done since the summer, which actually Lucas was with us then as well. So he was the last person here and the first person back. So today we're going to talk about stouts. So before we get going, anybody who's here or anybody come in, we're still waiting for Fergal. I'll introduce him in a minute. But if you want to take part, please, there's space there to put in questions, put in comments, and you can raise your hand as well. There should be a thing down there at the end to raise your hand and if you want to come up on stage and take part. And that's basically the whole kind of housekeeping out of the way on the thing. So just feel free to join in. Basically, the more people who take part, the better. So what we're doing is we're talking stouts today, and we have with us, we have Daniel from Mean Sardine in Portugal, and we have Lucas from Maltgarden in Poland. He's actually at a beer festival. He took the time out to come and talk to us today. And we're hoping that Fergal will be joining us from Dublin City as well in a little while. It's supposed to be here, but we'll see. So stouts. You're all big into stouts. Everyone's in stouts are kind of a strange thing, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but stouts are very niche across the world. I mean, compared to lagers, compared to everything, and even I think in craft beer circles, it's still a minority part. But at the same time, we have, you think stout, you have Guinness, which is one of the biggest brands in the world. So it's kind of a weird mixture. Where do you see stouts in the market?
In Poland, maybe I will start.
Yeah.
In Poland, we are like a small garden. We are making each month 1 or 2 imperial stouts, and the regular stouts with coffee. Our coffee to go, we are also brewing each month or like every 2 months. So you can say that most of the people are drinking IPA or Pilsner or sour beers with fruits, but the stouts, it's also a very good thing. I'm right now at the Warsaw Beer Festival, I think the biggest festival in Poland during the year. And the first 2 kikeks that we poured empty was the 2 imperial stouts. So people love to drink that. So I think it's not something you can drink like 2, 3, 4 pints, but people love it in Poland.
Okay. Yeah, but it is still kind of a small part, you say, compared to the IPAs and that.
Yeah. Like we are brewing 7, 8 different batches each month, and 1 or 2 are stouts. So you can say that it's not something that is maybe 15% or 10% of all our beers.
And how's that down in Portugal? How does it compare to
In Portugal, we can see lots of different stouts, because usually when in the beginning of this craft beer market, they start doing like microbreweries, start doing a blonde, a black, red, and a vice beer. Usually it's this 4 the different beers that kind of every microbrewery starts with. And in Brazil, I could see more or less the same thing. And the black beer, like, is one that people like it. They usually drink coffee, and then is the main flavor that they can recognize in a beer, like in a black beer. And then that's why I think it's common to see. And then, like, nowadays, I guess imperial stouts are becoming more popular because of its ABV, high ABV, and also because you can put lots of different adjuncts and mimetize some sweets or some pastry, like these kind of things. So besides IPA, imperial stouts are becoming very popular. I would say IPAs, sour beer, and imperial stouts, like the holy three.
Yeah, like coming from Ireland, we obviously have, our vision of what stout is, and it's dominated completely by Guinness.
Yeah.
Or like when we were down to the bad days, and we only had 3 breweries left in the whole country. They were all 3 were stout breweries, but they looked like Guinness. They had the nitrogenated surge, they had the head, they all look, and they're not imperial stouts. And so to me, I suppose when I drink an imperial stout, it looks like, I know it's a stout, but somewhere in my head it doesn't feel like it's a stout because it's high ABV, it's oily, it's viscous, and much as I like them, they just don't register as stout. It's funny how I suppose, like how stouts have split off that way. You have, I suppose that's the closest to a mainstream stout is Guinness style.
Yeah.
But then the imperial stouts are the one that the kind of maybe more the craft beer outside of Ireland go for.
But I was 3 weeks ago. I was on vacation with my family and friends, and in one of the discount shops, we bought 4 packs of Guinness with a nitrogen ball.
Yeah.
And we drank, I think, 30 or 40 cans. It was delicious. So sometimes you have to also drink a Guinness to make a perception and make sure that it's still the same.
Yeah, well, it is that Guinness, has, we still treat it, it's one of the biggest, must be one of the top 5 beer brands in the world.
Yeah.
But it's still treated here, even where it sells 30-40% of the beer market is Guinness stout. It's still treated as a craft beer. Like, you have to be careful on the pour, and we get very upset if, that there's whole Twitter accounts giving out about, shit London Guinness and stuff like that, because they just don't pour. We're very precious about it. And we'll wait for Fergal, but his was very much like he was the head brewer in Guinness for 20-something years, so his style is very much that style, whereas both of yours are totally different, like they're the big imperial one. So maybe we should start with one of yours. Who wants to go first? Anybody have one there? Maybe we'll start with the where is it?
Ginger Ninja.
Yeah, Ginger Ninja.
Great, I have one Ginger Ninja here also.
That looks nice. You did this as a collab.
Yeah, it's a collab with Demolin when the guys came to Portugal.
Right.
And then we brewed this together. I wasn't in Mean Sardine at that time, but they like Demolin. It's super known because of their beer stouts also. And then they came here, and it was a thing to put a Portuguese touch in this beer. Ginja, it's a sour cherry. I don't know if you guys are used with this kind of fruit, but it's a sour cherry that's super common here. And especially in Lisbon, they do a liquor of this fruit that's called ginginha. If you go to Lisbon, you must go to a ginja's house. That's a small door that you just get into there, and you ask for a ginginha. You have a small glass, or even a chocolate glass sometimes, that you can drink and eat the glass. But we put this ginginha in this beer, and then you can feel a little bit this acidity, the sourness of the ginja, but not that much. Like you won't consider this as a sour imperial stout, of course not. But it's interesting that match that you have with this cherry and the chocolate approach of this imperial stout. One interesting is that we just went a little bit away from the roastness and the coffee-like aromas and flavors, and we went close to chocolate. Like, once you have these two lines, you can use both of them, of course, and do a balance between chocolate and coffee. But then we just went to the chocolate approach because, like, the chocolate and the sour cherry would be like a better match. We suppose that, of course. But
Yeah, it's a real. Sorry.
Did you use the whole fruits or just like a juice or a
we
puree?
started the first batch. We used the fruit, but we didn't get too much of that fruit. And then we usually make a blend of cherry and the sour cherry, so we can have the flavor of that. But we usually do an extract with that and
Okay.
use it because like the fruit by itself is not that strong
Okay.
to
Yeah.
input the flavors.
Do you add it just before the bottling or during the end of the fermentation?
Yeah, by the end of the fermentation,
Okay.
once the beer is not that cold because it can
Yeah.
be more homogeneous there, and then we add the extract and go to maturation. That's not too long.
Yeah.
Could be longer, of course, being an Imperial Stout. But once, I guess for every Imperial Stout, once you deal in a nice way with the fermentation, and then you won't get a too much fusel alcohol or
Yeah.
superior alcohol, and then you won't need a longer maturation. Because once it's in the bottle and we don't pasteurize it, so it keeps going, and then it can round the flavors there. So this, like this Imperial Stout or every Imperial Stout that we brew, it's better to drink it after a year in the bottle.
Okay.
It's better, usually.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the strength of it? I noticed that you have, this was an American label and they don't seem to.
It's 10%.
Okay.
10% ABV. This one with this label for United States, because we sent some beers there, and Ginger Ninja was one of them. Shelton Brothers was importing our beers, and after this pandemic situation, we must refill everything that goes to the United States, and even Shelton Brothers are building their things up again, and hopefully they're gonna win this pandemic situation.
They didn't shut off. I think they closed.
I think they closed, but I don't know if they're coming back
Okay.
or not, and we're just waiting and crossing fingers for them. Yeah.
Okay. So I can tell you that during the Warsaw Beer Festival right now, there are like maybe 3,000 or 5,000 people up on it's a soccer field, soccer stadium. So a lot of people are here. We are during the pandemic, but you know, you cannot feel that in here.
Yeah, not anymore, I guess. Even here in Portugal, like yesterday, we had a party besides our brewery, because like here in Ericeira, everything's about surfing, and Ericeira is a world surf reserve, and then there was a guy there, Italo Ferreira, that was releasing a movie, and he's a guy from surfing, and like almost 800 people was there. It was like no pandemic situation at all. But it was a super open space, of course, like open space and everything. So to get inside, you should have a mask, but inside, then once it's open air, so nothing obligation to have a mask or something like that.
Were they checking if you were vaccinated or anything, or?
No, not in the entrance. No, No, but here in Portugal, like almost every person is vaccinated. And then at this party we had an IPA, a lager, a brown ale with tonka and cocoa, and a stout that's from Four Island. That's a Brazilian brewery. They're already here in the Netherlands, and I don't know if Lucas knows these guys.
I know them.
Yeah, great. They were here, and they have it's a stout with lactose and coconut.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a good match. I don't know because I didn't taste it, but still, it smelled really good.
Yeah, just talking about, I mean, when last time came up about, all the adjuncts that stouts are able to take quite a lot, but to me, you have to be very careful. That it's very easy to tip it over, is what I was told. That you can be very, very close, and then just a tiny bit more, and it's basically undrinkable. Is there?
When we are adding, you can like the most of the adjunct that we are adding is coconut, and in our brewery we have a very good pasteurization, and I don't know how's it in your brewery, but when our bottles or kikeks are not pasteurized, the coconut makes a little bit sour flavor after like 4 or 5 months. So the pasteurization is getting like you can say it's like a preserver to the coconut inside the beer. Without the pasteurization, when so much of coconut is inside the beer, it's getting a little bit sour. But we used 1 month ago, we did a collab with our friends from Funky Fluid, Funky Garden #9. It's a German chocolate cake inspired imperial stout, and we added 15% of cocoa nibs, and it was in a fermenter for I think a week, and for me it was amazing. The flavor of the cocoa nibs and everything was so powerful, like a drinkable chocolate. So I think with this kind of adjuncts, you cannot take it like, oh, it's too much. But I know 2 or 3 breweries in Poland are using tonka beans. So I know that when you are using too much tonka, it's undrinkable.
Okay, yeah, I don't know which ones I've had, but I know I've tried one with the coffee stout. I won't name the brewery, but because they do some very good stuff, but that stout was it was like drinking an espresso, like a really strong espresso. It was just, it wasn't a beer, And that's what I was told, that it's very easy to tip over, that you could just be up to a line and then it just falls off the edge of a cliff.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There is an interesting thing about this kind of amount of ingredients that you're putting into the beer, because like sometimes you put it, of course, you put in on your label everything that goes in the beer, of course. But then once you're choosing a beer and you take the label and then you read, for example, that the Tropical Darkness from Mean Sardine, that it has cocoa, and it's cocoa, vanilla, and coconut, right? But then you're expecting like to find all the ingredients, but it's not like every time that you want to have every ingredient there, because sometimes you can put one ingredient just to punch the other or to season a little bit the thing. Like this beer, for example, the coconut is not intense. You know that something is there, and then once you know that's coconut, you say, oh yeah, there's coconut, but it's not the first impact that you have. Mm-hmm. And it was a thing that I took the coconut, but not to feel a coconut flavored beer. It was more like a seasoning than an ingredient that would shine. Right. And then this beer, for me at least, in Brazil, we usually have it's not a cracker, but it's kind of a sweet cracker. It's called waffle. but it's not like that American waffle pancakes or something like that. But it's a cracker that's waffle and chocolate, vanilla, and there is not coconut. But this beer just remember my childhood with this waffle that was so crazy. But then that's the point. Sometimes you put it's like putting salt in some recipes or putting sugar in some recipes that you just put it to enhance the other ingredients.
The flavor.
And I suppose in that case, then you're just not putting it front and center on the label. It'll just be somewhere in the back of the ingredient.
We did. I think we did 2 years ago. We did Imperial Stout with coffee and salt, and most of the people were asking, "But I don't feel the salt. It's not salty." We said we add the salt only to enhance the flavor, to make it more powerful, like you adding salt to chocolate cake to be more chocolatey, and it's not gonna be salty like fries. So sometimes you added salt to the label and people are, oh, where's the salt?
Is that a case? Like, I suppose, like, is that there's people then will just buy it because it's salt. It's different. And they don't know what you're doing. They just
we did also. It's not a stout, but we did a collab with Seven Island called Tzatziki Pastry Sour. It was with mango, guava, and cucumber. And in Poland, we know the tzatziki as cucumber, yogurt, and garlic. And people were sending us messages, oh, it's very good beer, but we don't taste the garlic. And we said, it's without garlic. It's like, it's a craft beer. The name is like only to make it more powerful on the market. So sometimes when you added something to the label, people are making like, oh, it should be there, like garlic, salt, or something like that. So sometimes you have to be careful what you're adding to the label because people maybe will get confused.
I don't know yet how to communicate this kind of thing, like this difference between everything is there and you must feel everything, or everything is there but it's just a completely different ending product that you're gonna have in your hands. Like how to do this kind of approach, because everything must be on the label, but on the other side, you don't you don't say you must feel this or that. You can, of course, put on the label, but it's more interesting that the person could have a beer and taste it, and then they go to the label and see everything. That could be more interesting.
If you find a way to hide it, maybe you can just put some sort of a QR code instead of all the ingredients, and then that.
Like you just have the ingredients here, and then you must just finish the ingredients. Oh, that's nice.
Or figure out something to get it at the bottom of the bottle. They have to get everything out and then the ingredients. But is that something you're finding that we were saying that? Oh, the demand for yours is all it's imperial stouts, or do you try anything more like a Guinness style? Anything has that ever kind of been of interest to you to try something like that, or?
As I said, we in our brewery we are making something like a dessert stout. It's 18 Plato with 5.9 ABV, and with coffee we are calling it coffee to go. So it's like a very, not so sweet, but very thick for 18 Plato ABV, 18 Plato beer. It's something that people are drinking a lot in Poland, so we are doing that. But something like dry stout in Poland, I think no of the breweries are making it. So, we are like children of communism. So after 1990, 95, when all the things from Western world come to us, like chocolate, sweets, and everything, people in Poland are like in sugar fever. So if it's not sweet, they will not like it. So something that you have to have in Poland sweet beers to be recognizable.
Okay. That reminds me. I was a long time ago. I was in Malaysia to go for work for a month or something, and they had the very sweet too. Like we used to be in the canteen, and you'd watch the locals come in. They'd have a cup of coffee. They'd put about 6 sugars into it, and then pour condensed milk in on top of that. And we
Yeah,
were there. One it comes around because I actually went to the supermarket one day and bought a can of Guinness, and it was like treacle. It was so sweet. It was nothing like what you get over here. It was completely the opposite. Which I thought was kind of interesting how they managed to sell it still as Guinness, but somehow or other they didn't destroy their brand.
yeah.
So let's get back to the beers we have. I know you're at a beer festival, so you probably didn't bring stuff. Did you get a chance to try this one the other day?
Yeah, I tried all of the beers before the festivals because I knew I will be at the beer festival, so I drank all of them. So for me, it was very good. So I love the experience to drink a lot of other beers. Just not like when you send the beers to me, it's something a treat to me. So it was a very nice evening because it was with my brother, with my friends. So we share all the bottles, and all the cans. So it was a very nice evening.
Yeah, this one I thought like the sourness came through, where it was a very delicate sourness to it.
Yeah.
Is that like I don't know the cherries themselves, so I don't know how they influenced it. Like, could you have, or did you want to make it more sour? That was exactly what you were going for?
No, the point was not to have a sour beer or a sour Imperial Stout, but we knew that something would happen with this sourness because of the cherry, and once everybody knows like this is a sour cherry, so they're expecting some sourness, but it's super subtle. It's not like sour. And
No, it was very nice. I wasn't sure. Yeah, going into a sour stout, what to expect. But it's really nice.
thanks.
And is that a big seller for you? Is it part of your core range, or?
Yeah, we brew this like 1 or 2 times a year, and then we have this beer like selling all the year. We just brew once, and then we have it like aging in the bottle, and then we are selling that. From Imperial Stouts, we have this Ginger Ninja that is from our core, and also Tordesillas, that's the other one with cocoa, vanilla, cinnamon, and chili. And there is another one that we brewed, I think twice, but we must do it again. It is kind of a dessert stout also, with dried figs soaked into port wine. Because it's like a traditional Portuguese dessert here, like dried figs and port wine. And then we soak the dried figs into the port wine, and then we add that into the beer. But like just twice we did it, it's sold out. Even I don't have it anymore. But we must brew it again. Like these Imperial Stouts, they sell really nice for Imperial Stouts, of course, but they sell nice, and especially in the winter because here in Portugal they do have this. This is a winter beer or summer beer or this kind of approach. Like for us, like once we like beers and we're brewers and everything, we drink all beers from every year, like every season in the year. We don't have this kind of approach. Like, we can have an Imperial Stout in summer, of course, but for people it's a little bit different to sell this in the summer. Of course, they won't go for that as they go into winter.
Yeah, no, well, that's, I suppose, again, where in Ireland, again, like the lighter Guinnessy style beers are all year round, but they're not heavy, dense Imperial Stouts, and maybe that's why it sells here a lot more,
Yeah, because like Guinness or dry stouts in general, they're super easy drinkable, right? Like the drinkability is super high, the ABV is low, and you can drink a lot of this kind of beer. and super pleasant. I I don't know why we don't have more of these kind of beers, but we could have it, of course, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
Maybe cultural things or something like that.
yeah. No, it's interesting because I got into a conversation on Twitter last night as well. What's coming in very popular in Ireland at the moment is nitrogenated stouts. They're they're coming everywhere. Everybody seems to be producing them, but I don't see them. I think Stu Mosto do a range of nitrogenated stouts, and that's
Yes,
the only one I know.
yes, yes, but it's very difficult thing to do in a brewery because adding nitrogen to a beer and then bottle it or can it, it's very tricky. I know that we are brewing also in as a contract brewers in one of the brewers in Lemberg in Alebrovar, and they did once it was a regular stout, but you can say a nitro stout, and they added, I don't know how many nitrogen in it. It was like, I think, saturated for 1 or 2 days, and it was flat. So I think you have
It's
to
not
know.
soluble.
Yeah, it's you have to know what you are doing. So I think that's the reason that when you have the technology and everything, you can do it. But if you like, oh, I will do a nitrogen stout, and you don't have the experience and everything, it would go bad.
Okay, because I have no idea what the technology is behind it, but I just know that it seems to be, again, like obviously Ireland is influenced completely by what Guinness is, and that's what stout is. So everybody's kind of chasing that. And
Yeah.
there's one brewery just released their first, nitrogenated imperial stout and all of that. But yeah, it's just interesting to me that it seems to be becoming more necessary here that people in Ireland, there's more craft breweries producing nitrogenated stouts every day, and yeah, you just don't see it elsewhere. It's strange how Ireland has this weird little kind of subculture of stout that seems to be just a little pocket within Ireland. But I suppose, yes, those differences make the world go round, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, you sent over as well, Lucas. I mean, you had, like I said, you have toured multiple ones. You have your kind of your pastry stouts. You're very
Yeah.
big on coffee.
Yeah.
Different coffees. How do you think those coffees work out? I was again, like, is there certain coffees certain things you look for in the coffee, or?
We are based in Kołobrzeg, and in Kołobrzeg we have the biggest wholesaler in Poland that supplies the whole Poland and the whole Europe with coffee. It's called Coffee Desk. It's
Okay.
our good friends, and one of the head brewers there, Paweł. We know each other for I think 6 or 7 years. So he likes to drink beer. You can say I'm a coffee geek also. So I drank a lot of coffee, different coffees. So when we meet with Paweł, he knows what I'm expecting for a coffee, and he also know what kind of beers we are brewing. And we are also very close friends with Warsaw roastery called Hype. So they are also providing us with different sorts of coffees. Most of them are like with a sweet flavor, chocolatey flavor, caramel flavor. So it adds to the beer more sweetness, more like, as I said, chocolate caramel notes. So that is something that we want to do. We released, I think 6 different coffee stouts, the regular stouts, and also we have 3 different beers that we are using, like we are brewing like an imperial stout. It's I'm Your Barista. It's an imperial stout when we adding the coffee as a liquid. The second one is Common Roasters. It's imperial stout when we are adding the whole bean. A little bit grinded, of course, but you can say it's a whole bean. So it's a very different experience in a beer. once we released I'm Your Barista with 3 different coffees, and it was like 3 different beers. So you can say that the different coffees make the flavor, the profile of the beer very different. So we are very proud of this beer, because many of people said just before we release it, oh, it's going to be 3 similar beers. It was not. The coffee makes the difference. So we love to brew that, and I think we will gonna be making this beer each 2 or 3 months every time. So yeah, as I said, very close friends with Coffee Desk, with Hype, so they are providing us with a very good varieties of coffee from different countries like Panama, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador. So we can choose whatever we want, and it's something that I love to do. I love to brew imperial stouts also with the addition of coffee.
Okay, well, we Daniel and myself agreed that we'd keep this I'm Your Barista, the pink bourbon, for today. So we might as well give that one a shot. When it's pink bourbon, is that a type of coffee bean, or is it a bourbon?
No. It's a variety of coffee. Pink bourbon. It was from I think I didn't remember the name of the roaster, but it's a very famous one. The guys from Hype sent us the whole bean. The Coffee Desk grinded, and Pavel made this was it was one batch and 2 different coffees. So Pavel made 100 liters of filtered coffee. So it was like a whole day of brewing coffee, and we transported the coffee to the brewery, added the coffee to the fermenter, and the next day was the bottling. So it was a very fresh coffee added to the beer, and the next day it was bottled. It's something that I think 5 years ago, during the Warsaw Beer Festival, when I didn't have a brewery, I spoke to Tobias, the former owner of Tool, and I said to him, I love your black IPA with salt. It was called black. I don't remember the whole name. Doesn't matter. And I asked him, how do you add the coffee? And he said, we are adding the coffee just before the bottling. So we did the same, and it works. So sometimes it's very nice to talk with other brewers to share the experience and everything. So yeah, it was a very good time 5 years ago, and right now I can share the beer with you, like an experience with another brewer. The flavor of the coffee, it was, I think, the pink bourbon is a variety. It's not something that was matured in bourbon barrels, so it's only a name. So, but we did a coffee with aged in bourbon barrels with Hype. So the guys took very fresh bourbon barrels from us, and I think it was maturated for a week in a bourbon barrel, Heaven Hill bourbon barrel, and after that it was roasted, and I can tell you that it was amazing. So it's another level for us also to do barrel aged coffee and sell it. So I think we will do it also in 2 weeks, because on Tuesday, when I will be back from the festival, we are bottling 3 different imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels and also in rum barrels. So we will have fresh barrels. So I think the guys from Hype will use it.
Okay.
That's super interesting, because you can have like this ingredient that you can have, of course, so many different coffees, but also the addition of this coffee to the beer, like you said, just before bottling or after fermentation or something like that, and even ground coffee or the liquid coffee or the beans, everything, and it's going to be super different. The final beer is going to be different, right? Like this one, you can taste the flavor of the coffee that's incredible here, and this caramel like that is from the coffee, it's super well balanced here. Like I brewed some in Brazil. Back in Brazil, I brewed some beer with the beans, the coffee beans, but was not grounded. It just the whole beans, and usually we put it in a filter. The same filter that we use to filter our premium lager, let's call that. But we put in the filter and just recirculate the beer through that for 48 hours, like 2 days recirculating. And the final product was super different from a coffee that you're used to drink. Like when people had that beer and said, "Oh, coffee like beer," and drink, "Wow, is this a coffee?" Yes, but much more like a green coffee. If you have the experience to be in a coffee field, like that field that they are just drying the coffee, and are on the ground and they're drying the coffee, and that kind of smell from green coffee was in the beer. It was super crazy to have that.
Yeah. I would maybe also say about something about the brewing process. It's 30 Plato Imperial Stout. This one is a little bit different from other Imperial Stout, other recipes that we are making, because it's without lactose, so it's only only malt. We are using the black malts from Simpson. So like black malt, chocolate malt, and brown malt, with addition of some caramel malts from Weyermann, and regular Pilsner malt is from our Polish supplier, so it don't make difference. We are mashing it, and like the whole brewing process for 40-liter batch, it's around 18 hours. So it's we are brewing the Imperial Stouts in Bytu for 2.5 years. So we know how to handle all the mashing and everything. So we can do it for around 18 hours. I think the first or second batch of that kind of thick Imperial Stout was 27 hours. So the experience make the difference. So I think right now the 18 hours
Super fast.
it's super fast. So but the bit of brewery is, you can say, an old brewery. It was built in '94. All the equipment is from old milk factory, but as I said, 30 Plato, you can do it. You can. Once we didn't release it because we added more water to make it 30 Plato, but we did 37 Plato after the mashing. So you can do high ABV beers, very thick, very oily, and this is something that we are making, as I said, each month. So this is, as I said, very, very good brewery to us to brew Imperial Stouts. And also the tunnel pasteurizator is very good. So we can make 6,000-7,000 bottles in 4 or 5 hours with the pasteurization and everything. So we can, in Poland, after 10 ABV, we are putting the best before date. But in Poland, the law is after the 10 ABV, you can leave it. Yeah, you don't need to. But we are adding 3 years. But after 3 years, the beer is also very good to drink. Yeah, the thickness. Maybe you can feel the thickness
Yeah.
of this beer. It's not as thick as we are doing because it's a different recipe. It's also like, as I said, 100 liters of coffee, so you can say water. So it's not so thick. But I think I sent you another imperial stout, so you can see the difference between this one and the regular pastry imperial stouts.
Okay. Yeah.
And
No.
what do you think about the lactose? You think that this imparts something like the sweetness, or what's your goal to put lactose on it?
The addition of lactose to our beers is, yeah, you can say to make it more sweet, but I think in most of our imperial stouts we are adding 1 or 2 bags of lactose, so it's something like 0.7, 0.8 Plato only. So we are adding to make it more sweet, but also to make the beer more thicker, because lactose is not like the yeast cannot eat it. So the addition of lactose is not just only for the sweetness, but also to make the body
Yeah.
the mouthfeel more thickness.
Yeah. Daniel, you don't use lactose in any of your beers, obviously.
No, I don't use it, but just because of this thing, I don't use anything from animals. And in Mean Sardine, before me, they were brewing a stout with, wow, man, how is called that animal from the sea that has the spikes? You know, the black
Yeah.
one with lots of spikes. I don't know the name of this animal.
Yeah, it's a
But
sea urchin, I think.
yeah, can be that. I don't recall the name, but they was brewing a beer with this. And once I came, they said, "Wow, what about that beer?" I said, I won't brew that. I'm sorry, but I won't. If this is the point, so we know that I'm not gonna be a brewer." And then he said, "Oh, okay, we can get rid of this beer, and okay, you can come to the team, and no beers with animals or whatever comes from animals." And by lactose, for example, like my uh, vegan substitute for lactose would be like a maltodextrin. Sometimes I use that, but also not only that, because maltodextrin, I don't know, if you use a little bit more, then you can feel like it's powdery or something like that. You can taste that in the beer, you know, like it's powdery or something like that. So a little bit of maltodextrin could increase this, but then like long boil will do magic with the beer, I guess. Like for long boil, I mean like 6-8 hours boiling, and then you can have some changes. But also, it's not boiling at 100 degrees Celsius on the sea level, of course. Like, but we're saying like 96 degrees.
Yeah.
But 8 hours boiling, for example.
It's something that we are also doing, because when we are mashing, we have 5 kettle in a brewery. So we are mashing, we are putting the wort to the boiler, and then it's also like even 10 hours on 90-95 degrees, and after the whole is filled with the wort, we are making 100 degrees. So you can also tell that we are boiling, maybe not boiling, but that the temperature is high for 8 and 10 hours.
Yeah, I think this is a big difference once you're brewing a big beer, and if you're boiling 1 hour or even 2 hours, and by the other side you're boiling like 8-10 hours, makes the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, just out of a side thing, Portugal itself, I don't really know what the beer scene there is. Like, I would have imagined it's mainly kind of wine. That beer wouldn't have been that big, or am I completely wrong in that?
No, like here, of course, the wine has a big place in Portuguese culture, but also the craft beer is in the beginning of the scene, I guess, and it's getting more and more disseminated. But this cross thing with the wine industry is super interesting. Like here, we are doing lots of grape ales that we use the wine must into the beer, and then sometimes we put that in some wine barrels to age or something like that, or even like I did in the last imperial stout with the dried figs, soak it into port wine. There are several ways to use the wine here, and once you release a grape ale or something with wine related to the wine world, it's super nice. People, not Portuguese only, but even from other countries, they are super excited to try that and to see how related this beer is with the wine world.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, the reason Sorry, you go ahead, Lucas.
Okay, Daniel, do you buy the must directly from the winery, or do you have some kind of company that provides you the must from the wine?
Well, once here you get close to the winery like so easy. We have a winery close to Ericeira, it's in Cheleiros, that's called Man's Wine. And then like the guys from Mean Sardine know the guys from Man's Wine, and they just shared the wine must with us. Once they just gave to us a 500 liters barrel that was used to age, not age, but for a while. The white wine from a very unique variety of grape that's called Jampal. That's super rare. It was extincted for a while, but then they just got that grape again, and they have one wine that is just with Jampal. And we got this must, and we brewed for the first time a saison that went through that barrel and stood there for only 3 months. But then after 2 years in the bottle, it was a completely different beer, and it was amazing. And then I sent to you a wheat wine with the same grape, Jampal grape. And like this wheat wine, I bought for 6 hours also, just to increase a little bit the mouth feel or something like that. And then this one, I added the wine in the kettle, like in the whirlpool. When I was whirlpooling the beer, I added the wine must, the grape must, just to pasteurize it, because I was a little bit afraid with this beer. The other one, I put right in the fermentation, and then it was a completely different beer. Like I was expecting to have all the microbes the microorganisms that was in the must, but for this beer, I wouldn't like it. So it was more a straight fermentation beer.
In Poland, I have a problem to buy a grape must, because we have a lot of wineries, but they used all of it to make wine. So it was also something that we want to try it at Maltgarden, but it's a very difficult thing to do to buy a grape must.
Really, even 300 liters or something like that?
No. The wine scenery in Poland is growing like each year, and they are all using it to make wine. So even when you are paying a lot of money, they said no, we need wine. So
because here we never paid for the grape must. Like they just gave to us and said, "Bro, make the beer." And like once we have lots of this here, so you can.
So you have to contact me with one of the guys, so maybe they can send us some barrels to Poland.
Yeah. Like this is the right time to contact them. I guess September, October is
Yeah,
the best month to do
the best
that.
month. Yeah.
Sorry, Robert here is just saying, he's asking, would you grow your own
No.
wines?
Lucas could.
No, Poland is, we have only one region in Poland when you are growing grapes. So I think my father has a small tree in a garden, but it's like it's very good for juices or something like that, but not to make wine or add it to a beer. So
Right. And I suppose you're busy enough with your 18-hour boils to.
yeah,
Yeah, no, sorry. The reason I was asking was because whenever it's booked someone who, it's wine culture, that the beers they make tend to be very, lagery, very light sort of one. And so I was thinking Portugal, if it's wine, but you've gone for the dark, the complex, it didn't seem to match in my head, so I wasn't sure if I was missing something.
No, but it's pretty much like that because once wine has 10 to 15 ABV usually, and then once you brew a stronger beer, then it's a little bit closer to the world. So like they see 10, 11, maybe beers, wow, that could be nice. Let's try that. And but also like light beers here is the big hit. Like we have Superbock and Sagres. That is the two biggest company here that brew this standard lager and sell tons of this kind of beer, of course. And we are breaking the ice brewing craft beer. Still, we have lots of people that say, "No, craft beer, what's that? Let's see. Oh, but it's too strong, or it's too weird, or too like that." I just like one as close to Superbock as you have. Like we don't brew anything close to Superbock or to Sagres. If you want this kind of beer, just go and buy that beer. You don't need to come here. Like we are bringing different tastes, and that's the interesting thing. Like we are in the beginning here in this kind of culture, and we have some nice festivals around, especially Art Beer Fest that usually occurs in Caminha, and Porto Beer Fest, and that we have also international breweries, and people are getting used to that, are knowing this kind of culture, and as they have the wine culture surrounding them, then they are looking to the beer with another eyes, like seeing that the beer can be as complex as their wine world, even more complex, of course.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if he's offering it now, but Robert has just followed up here, and he said he has two vines in his back garden, so there's somewhere else you can go now as well. So Lucas, I get a feeling you need to go, do you?
no, we can talk. So not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Fergal didn't make it. I don't know what happened, but maybe we should still, just out of respect, we should open his.
Oh, wonderful.
And we just see, because the comparison, I think, is, like I was saying, to me, to me, this is probably what, I think stout, this is the style.
Oh, yeah. Cheers to Fergal.
I don't know what happened. We'll have to follow up and see what happened to him. But anyway.
Man, after Imperial Stout, this is really light and refreshing beer.
Yeah.
But you know what? Every time that I come for Irish Stout or a dry Stout or something like that, especially stouts, let's say that, and even in Brazil or here, most of the stouts that I tasted, it had a super astringent flavor. You know that when you drink it, it's super astringent and you say, but what is this about? And then once you drink this, you can see that no astringent at all. It's super pleasant beer. And I don't know, but it's a little bit difficult to reach this kind of thing with no astringency. It's yeah, it's really difficult. The water, of course, the water is I think is the magic. If you take care of your water, then you can brew dark beers with no astringency, I guess. I don't know if Lucas agrees with me, but
Yeah, we are like our water profile in Beethoven is very good for imperial stouts and also for stouts. So we are adding a little bit of salt or other ingredients. So we're not modifying the water that much because the profile of the water in Beethoven is very good for imperial stouts and for old stouts. But in other brewery, when we are doing the IPAs, the modification is very, very, you can say, most of the things that we are adding, it's like chloride and other adjuncts. So the profile of the water, it's not so good for IPAs and other beers, but we handle it very good, I think. So as you said, the water is magic because it's 99% of all beers.
yeah, yeah, but and especially the pH for this kind of beer, because when you're using dark malts and roasted barley or roasted malt, and then the pH drops really fast, and it's a dangerous thing because you don't want a low pH in that. Otherwise, you can have a super astringent beer, of course.
Yeah.
Like in Brazil, I was brewing with a water that the pH was 9.
9?
It's super alkaline water. And then every brew, like for, let's say, 1,600 liters, I usually use half liter of lactic acid to drop the pH. But then when I was brewing an oat milk stout, I still need to use like 150 milliliters of lactic acid to drop a little bit the pH to be like 5.4, 5.5. That for these dark beers, I like a little bit higher pH, not 5.3 for instance, but 5.5. I like to use that kind of pH.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I just switched here. I went back to the what's it called? Barista. No, I'm your barista one. Yeah, and the difference between them is, it's night and day. It's hard to believe they're both called stout.
Yeah, I will not say it's a bad beer because I enjoy it, but in Poland it will be not sellable because it's too dry, too watery, and as I said, we as a Polish people like something sweet, something more with a mouthfeel. So the dry stout in Poland, I think it's something that maybe 1 or 2 brewers will do each year, and that's it.
Yeah, whereas
you know what? Like in Brazil, we have a kind of a beer that's called mouse beer. It's not close to the German style mouse beer, but this mouse beer in Brazil is a black one, and it's sweet. That's the main thing. It's a sweet beer, sweet dark beer, and the breweries start doing that because it was from, of course, the big companies. They are producing the lagers, the expanded lagers, and once they have something that went bad, they put like a currant, like a black caramel currant, and they add some sweetness. You know that, I don't know the name in English, but it is a liquid that if you're not drinking sugar or eating sugar or something like that, you use this liquid to sweeten your drink, or aspartame. Yeah. And they put this in the beer, so it gets really sweet, and then we sell that as hell because it was super sweet and dark beer, and lots of beers. And like I remember that my grandmother loved that so much. Like every Sunday that we went to her house to have lunch or something like that, like one bottle of that beer, and oh, that's my beer. That's so nice. It was sweet, sweet, sweet. Could be a good beer here, Poland, maybe.
Yeah, that is why I said that in Poland we like sweet things because we opened our own bar in Kołobrzeg in June, and like a guest beer we have on tap Lindemann's Creek. So it's a very sweet beer, and girls love it because it's something like a very sweet wine with low ABV, and something that we are buying each week or each 2 weeks a pallet, because it's in a bar gone. So the sweetness of it is like a seller to that beer.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of creeks, but
Yeah, during the Warsaw Beer Festival, we have one of the guys from Cantillon, so we also drank a few bottles of Cantillon. But this is the standard lambic, right? So this is something that they are making for past 100 years, and the Lindemans, they are doing something different, but it's something that also people are enjoying it. So. I think when people are drinking it, for me, it's a good thing.
Yeah, as long as you enjoy it. But to me, I come to really start liking the lambics, the sours, and that. But then the creek kind of throws it off on me. Really. But yeah, as long as people drink what they like, I suppose it's down to. But it is interesting just to see how the tastes differ from country to country, even when they're pretty close.
But even some sour stout is interesting also. Like I got a barrel, and I just put like 200 liters inside, and said just let it be. Like 6 months after, I got a sour beer that was just by luck or by whatever. But it was an experiment, and just said, let's put beer there and let it be. And after 6 months was like a sour oatmeal stout. And it was really, really interesting. Like the guy from the commercial area, this back in Brazil again. And then he didn't like too much beers at all, and didn't know too much about beers, and they said, "Well, this beer is spoiled. What's that thing? It won't sell. Of course not. Just throw it away." And then I put to run like the national championship in Brazil about beers, and it took like a silver medal.
Wow!
And he said, "Man, how come this can get a medal in spoiled or something like that?"
At the beginning of Polish craft revolution, you can say, most of the brewers didn't have the experience to make barrel-aged beers, and few of the brewers released Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels, bread edition. And after a while, we knew that when you have a sour beer, a sour Imperial Stout in a bourbon barrel, because something went wrong, they added bread. And after 6 months, it was some kind of different experience. So it also was something that people enjoyed. But right now, we are like our people that drink craft beer in Poland. They know that when you are releasing a bread Imperial Stout, something went wrong, and they will not buy it because they are like too experienced to get like. Oh yeah, we did that because we want to do that. No, it was a spoiled beer, and you added breadies to make it like more fancy.
Yeah, just like that with any style. When go wrong, you just put in a barrel, just wait a little bit, and then you just sell and say, put a fancy name, and then you can sell that for sure. or just that kind of mega blend that they can do also and put different beers together and say, oh, this is the super blend of the master brewer.
I was just wondering if anybody there has any questions or has a comment or anything that you want to say beside advice on growing vines. Here's. And so, according to Robert, Guinness used to add old stout to the batch to sour it a bit, but then the health and safety people don't really like it, seemingly. So yeah, so they used to blend stouts. I didn't know that. I don't know what qualifies as old stout, but blending is pretty acceptable, I would have thought.
Maybe it's about old barrels or something like that.
Yeah. Don't know. Robert, do you have any more information on that? You want to come up and talk to us, tell us about it? If Fergal was here now, we'd know, see, because he was the man who was doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so listen, we're holding you on we're an hour and a quarter now. Maybe I should let you go, since you've been very generous with the time. Anything you wanted to add in there that I forgot to ask about, or anything that I should have mentioned? I don't know. I raised adjuncts and nitro. They were the two things in my head.
I think that is really nice to have this conversation about stouts, because I guess everybody that's gonna listen to us and watch this year or later, they're gonna have the eager to have a stout to drink. And then,
I think so, and I think
it's gonna be really nice.
There's a variety now that maybe some people haven't been, besides Imperial or besides Guinness, like whichever way you're coming from, there's something there's something else to try.
And also with nitro, like when you have that can with a small bowl inside, with nitro inside the bowl, this could be a super nice experience to have one can with that and another one without this kind of nitro thing, and just compare the visual thing, how you can pour on the glass, and then you can drink both and see the difference, the mouth feeling of nitro and without nitro. It's really interesting to do.
They've released a new thing here now, because I think probably because everyone's releasing nitro stouts, Guinness have come up with this weird, you pay €25 for something you put on top of the can. You have a special can and then you have to pour it funnily to make a surge or something like that. So so they're going even further down that line, but I don't know how it works. I don't know, but it just seems like I think everybody here has the widget, so they're trying something new.
Yeah.
It's mad. And seemingly that was because the pubs were closed. So they were trying to, according to Robert here, they came up with that to try and just get people to say we're having it as if it was in a pub. Listen, I'll let you go. It was a good chat. Enjoyed it completely. I hope everybody else did too. And just to let you know, we'll have a couple of good ones coming up next week. We have Third Barrel from Ireland, Brew and Roll from Spain, and we have both Solo and Axiom. Solo's from Crete and Axiom from the Czech Republic, and it's the same head brewer, who was also, I believe, the first microbrewery in Norway.
Yeah, Nogne.
Yeah, so you know him quite well, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ketil.
Yeah, that's him.
Ketil.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to pronounce his name, to be honest with you. Now I know. I was getting worried for next week. So, I believe he's quite a character.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a very big man.
Is he? Okay. Well, he seems to be jetting between Crete and the Czech Republic practically every week now at this stage. Because every time I talk to him, he says, I just got on the plane, I just got off the plane. And it's very good. Let's see, anyone else here? Okay. Robert says he enjoyed it anyway, so I'm not sure about everyone else, but Robert had fun, so he's still going to give you vines if you go and ask him, I'd say. I'll just play out this little video just to show from who's coming up next week. And listen, guys, thanks a million. And hopefully we'll do it again sometime if you're up for it.
Thank you very much.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your participation.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you for the beers.
Thank you.
It was really good to have your beers here. And also Brian, thanks for reaching me for this video. And whatever you want, I'm gonna be here to do more things about this.